After a tumultuous start to the Champions League campaign, Chelsea have qualified for the knockout rounds, courtesy of a 2-1 win over RB Salzburg. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour. Essien! Drogba! Lampard! That could be the championship!
Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for what is your Chelsea match review show, but more specifically, a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance in the Champions League versus RB Salzburg. But ladies and gentlemen, before I get into all that, I really do need you to be a good citizen, a good friend, and just do me this one favor. Hit the like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you are a real bad man, you will hit that bell notification button to keep up with the latest and the newest. Obviously, I'm not at home and I'm trying to keep this content current and frequent and as much as I can. I'm currently on the West Coast and trying to find time to get these videos done, but you will know when they're updated and when I have a new one up if you hit that bell notification button. And if you don't already know, I do have a sponsor for the show. They go by the name of Major League Socks. And fellas, if you ever want to walk in the footsteps of greatness, you know what to do. Hit them up, link in the description. Okay, so Chelsea traveled all the way to Austria to face RB Salzburg and emerged 2-1 winners, goal scorers. Kovacic, off of a broken play, finds the back of the net. Beautifully taken goal, first time hit. He was answered by Adamu in the second half. And then match winner Kai Havertz with a cracking goal right off the crossbar, and in Chelsea win 2-1. In this match review, we're going to be looking at three things as we normally do. I'm going to keep it short because I do have to work tonight. We're going to be looking at the performance of Kai Havertz, who was my man of the match. We're going to be looking at Chelsea's ability to break the press this game. There was one sequence in particular that I want to focus on. Unfortunately, they did not score. Aubameyang almost scored but didn't. We're going to be looking at that one sequence. And of course, we're going to be looking at Chelsea's setup as we normally do. Obviously, Graham Potter always varying the shape. And in this one, we saw a very attacking lineup, and I think we need to focus on that. Okay, very similar to the first game, which I was at Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea played RB Salzburg and played a back three under Graham Potter. His first game in charge with Chelsea, he played a back three, but it played more to me like a 3-3-4 with a midfield three forming a triangle, and you know, whoever was supposed to be our wingbacks, I think it was Reece James on one side and Raheem Sterling on the other. They were basically just playing as wingers, like far up the pitch, not really concerned with, you know, what could be threatening in behind them. And yet again today, Graham Potter showing them no respect down the flanks whatsoever, playing Raheem Sterling at the left winger position, and of course Christian Pulisic on the right winger position, in what I would like to call a 3-2-4-1. Now, in the early stages of the game, that system was very fluid. There was lots of times, especially in the early going, where we saw Jorginho as a solo six flanked by Conor Gallagher and Kovacic, making up a midfield three triangle with obviously Kai Havertz making it a diamond further up the pitch. And we had a lot of problems playing out from the back when that particular setup came in. We were just pressed all over the pitch. They sat on Jorginho. We just did not have an outlet ball. So I think about 10 to 15 minutes into the game, it switched more to a 3-2-4-1, where you saw Jorginho and Kovacic play in the pivot together. They gave us a little bit more cohesion in there and a few more options to play the ball inward and whatnot. So that was basically done because when Chelsea went out to the flanks, there was not that square ball to play it back inside. There was nobody there to receive. So when Jorginho's marked out of the game, we needed another option in that midfield to help us build our attacks again, and that was Kovacic today, and it worked to some extent. Chelsea were able to get on the front foot a little bit more regular with, you know, the two of them as a pivot, and it gave Conor Gallagher the license to just be more free-flowing and more forward-thinking as a number 10 when we did do that switch change. But again, it was very fluid throughout the whole game. I felt like Chelsea played solo six with Jorginho and supported by Gallagher and Kovacic for portions of the game, and then at times when they needed to be a little bit more solid, they switched to that, you know, double pivot with the 2-10s, so 2 6s, 2 10s, and again, we're very attack-minded throughout the majority of the game. Now, of course, much of the discussion at the pre-match was what this shape was and how could we possibly be playing a back three with, of course, Raheem Sterling and Pulisic as wingbacks. And the answer to that is simple. We weren't playing with wingbacks. We were playing with wingers. We were not threatened down the flanks at all. We were not looking to engage there. It looked to me like RB Salzburg were looking to hit on the counter, but they played very, very narrow. They played right into our hands. And I think Graham Potter's assessment of how they like to play and where they like to exploit the areas on the pitch, we had that down to a T. Not only were we always on the front foot, always looking to be threatening and whatnot, but defensively, whenever they did break, we had the numbers there to compensate. I thought Thiago Silva had a fantastic game. I thought Jorginho had a very, very good game. Of course, I think Sky gave him man of the, or BT Sport gave him man of the match. I don't know about that. We'll get into that later, but he had a very decent game. 96% passing, as we're more accustomed to seeing with him. And Trev Chalobah, once again, just marshalling that right flank and giving the license for Pulisic to just be free and roam forward. It was very, very good to see Chelsea being a little bit more on the front foot, a little bit more forward thinking. The ideation in the final third was excellent. We will get into that, of course. But for the most part, this shape was very, very much something that showed little respect to RB Salzburg in terms of their ability to get out and attack us with that right and left flank just exposed mightily, with Raheem Sterling and Pulisic not really giving much consideration there. So what we did was obviously condense the pitch. We had Chalobah and of course Cucurella pressed up to compensate for the spaces, the huge gaps. They did have some opportunities on counters which were very, very dangerous, and as a matter of fact, their goal came off of a counter as well. Beautiful ball swung into Adamu, and he just buries it. But for the most part, I think that Chelsea played a safe game, were very much aggressive offensively, and it proved to be effective because it got a lot more guys involved in the game. We saw Kai Havertz get lots of touches. We saw Aubameyang get in and behind the defense more than a few occasions. We saw, of course, Conor Gallagher, who was very, very good today in both roles, understanding his role very well when he went for the forward and played the number 10 to threaten the final third in the box. And also when he was sitting back to be more of an 8 to make up that midfield 3, I thought he was very good at just being a real presence, a force out on the right flank, where he was basically, in between the likes of Chalobah and Pulisic. He was the guy that was basically just in there, mixing things up there. So again, the shape proved to be effective for Chelsea, and the players in that role took the assignment on really, really well, and it led to a fantastic game. Now, one of the aspects of the game that I like to use to assess whether or not Chelsea's playing well, whether or not they're up to speed with the game, is number one, of course, the pace in which they're playing at, but not just that, also their ability to play out from the back, their ability to break an aggressive press, and of course, their ability to play in the transition. And I thought today, Chelsea did an excellent job in a lot of those areas. Of course, the pace wasn't incredible. Obviously, you're playing in the Champions League, you got to be really safe. A point would have guaranteed us through to the next round anyways, so you didn't really need to be as cavalier, especially when we're playing a very aggressive setup as well. We didn't really need to be, playing too quickly when we had basically 6 attackers on the pitch as is. So it made sense to slow the tempo down a bit and get a little bit more control and look for openings, which we found readily. But the one thing that I wanted to focus on was basically Chelsea's ability to break the press. And on a few sequences, like I said earlier, Chelsea played with the solo 6 being Jorginho, and it worked to perfection. There was one break in particular that I wanted to focus on that came through in the first half, where Chelsea were just razor sharp. So the play starts with Kepa in possession. He plays it out to Chalobah. Chalobah plays it infield to Jorginho, basically, square ball pass. And then, of course, Jorginho switches it right back out to Chalobah, who plays it, wide right, which is not always readily available for Chelsea when they're trying to break the press. But because RB Salzburg committed so many bodies forward, we're talking about 4s and 5s. That ball to Pulisic, where he's basically playing as our right midfielder, it was readily open. So he gets on the ball, and what he normally would do there, and what normally we see people do that's playing on the wing for Chelsea, is they just turn and go and run down a cul-de-sac, and for whatever reason, I think Pulisic made the right decision to play the ball back infield, because once we played it back infield and we got Jorginho on the ball, everything opened up for Chelsea. The pitch opened up, and we were able to exploit the gaps of space that were left by an over-aggressive RB Salzburg press. And everything that I saw in that press, that to break that press, that sequence to get in transition and, run at them with pace and whatnot, is exactly what you want to see from Chelsea going forward. The thing that I think is missing for the most part when we play this particular playing out from the back and we're looking for that infield ball is that when we don't have Conte available, that ball inwards is not as readily available. So Chelsea are always just playing it out to the flanks and then looking for options down the flanks. But for whatever reason today, I think Pulisic made the right read, played it back infield to Jorginho. The spaces, the gaps of spaces between our midfield and our sitting sixes were not 20 yards as they normally are. We were able to keep it nice and compact and just broke it effectively. But what we normally see is when we want to play that ball inward, especially on that right flank, we play it to Conte, and Conte is just a one-man, transition. He can just, you give Conte the ball, and he's just transitioning and breaking on teams at will. We saw that a lot through that Champions League run, and then again, it's for spells last year. But for whatever reason, when he's not available, that infield ball is just not as readily on play for Chelsea. But for whatever reason today, I thought that one move was excellent. Chelsea carved through them like a hot knife through butter, and those are the types of things that we're starting to see under Graham Potter that I think can lead to a lot of success, because the spaces weren't as wide as they normally are. We were able to counter them really quickly. When you have gaps of space of 20, 25 yards and the ball is not being weighted correctly to get into, our attackers and whatnot, then, the whole move breaks down because the pace is not there and the accuracy is not there. That was not the case in this particular move, and it led to a great goal scoring opportunity. Now, we had a lot of great performances this game. I can speak of, obviously, Thiago Silva, who I can probably say had a great game every game. He's just of that class. I can also say that Trevor Chalobah's kept his form, kept on the trajectory of being, a man that, always rises to the occasion when given the opportunity. But today, I thought we got an incredible performance from the much maligned Kai Havertz. He was my man of the match, by the way. I think that everything that Potter asked of him was executed at a high level. He was very good at engaging in the half spaces. He was very, very good at just moving the ball quickly, not dwelling on it too long. Very quick one-two touch passes out to the flanks, and then moving on. Like, all of this stuff was things that we just did not see from Kai Havertz. I remember just like 2 matches ago, my match review was just him being too static in the build-up. Where he's not being a number 10, a guy that comes to collect the ball, demanding the ball, and then laying it off and then moving into space to get in a better position. That was a completely different story today. I thought that when we broke on them and we were able to get, legs running at them, I thought he was excellent at identifying the spaces. I thought he was excellent at identifying when to release the ball to play somebody else into a better position. And this is what you want from an under 10. It's not so much the fact that he scored a cracking goal, which, again, it was of incredible quality. The fact that he just took it, had time, and just belted in the top shelf in on the right side there. But ultimately, what you want from your number 10 is a guy that understands, has good spatial awareness, and understands when to release guys. Has very good technically, all of that stuff. And for whatever reason, maybe it's confidence, maybe it's just suitability to the Premier League, but for whatever reason, we haven't been seeing this sort of Kai Havertz, and lots and lots of people online are just berating this guy, and myself included. I expect a lot more from this guy on a match-to-match basis. It's great to see that he's come into this match here, and an important game with Chelsea with qualification on the line, coming through and playing a man-of-the-match performance. This is what you want from him, but I want him to kick on now. I want him to give me more of that in the Premier League now. I want to see him be the hub of our creation like he was today in a lot of ways. I thought Gallagher had a good game as well in that particular role as the 2 number 10s. He was very good as well, but I feel like a lot of the good things that happened for Chelsea in this match, and there was a lot of good things, let's be honest, a lot of it came down to what Kai Havertz was doing on the ball, his ability to assess the space in and around him, and his ability to make the right recognitions and the right reads, the right balls to play people in behind. And again, if this is the Kai Havertz that we're going to be getting going forward, the guy that wants to get on the ball, the guy that's not hiding, behind defenders, the guy that is, a difference maker in the final third, like that goal will attest to, then we're going to be golden. But I need to see this more regularly. You know, it just can't be 1 in 5 matches that we see Kai Havertz put on a display like we saw today. And with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Chelsea qualified for the knockout phase of the Champions League with a 2-1 win over Salzburg. And it was a fantastic performance. Like, this is one you can hang your hat off. It's one that Graham Potter can use to build on. You know, he has a reference point now for this team. This is how we want to attack. We want to attack spaces. We want to play balls in behind. We want people to be making movement in and around this 18 off the ball to get in behind. Like 1-2 touch passes, speed up the game in the final third. These are all things that we saw happen. And I don't know if it was because we went to the 2 6s, 2 10s, and then of course the 2 wingers who were basically our wide, our fullbacks, or our wingbacks or whatever. I don't know if that was the reason why we just had so many bodies committed to, piercing their back line. And it's probably not something you're going to be able to do in every match, but it worked to perfection today, and hopefully going forward, it's an option that we can use in the Premier League without having too many repercussions for being that aggressive offensively. I just want to see more of our offensive players, who are our better players in my opinion, get on the pitch and make a difference, because we're just not scoring enough goals, we're not creating enough opportunities, and we're playing with a lot of defenders right now. The only thing that I would say going forward is, that particular shape, more teams will be much more aggressive at attacking those spaces in the wide areas that were afforded to us, and it could lead to us being countered and sussed out. But I mean, in a pinch, you can go to that setup when you know that you need a goal and you know where the opportunities are going to be coming from. So let's hope that that's something to build on, and we can use that as a reference point going forward. What do we got next? Who do we got next? We got the Potter Derby next. It's Brighton at the weekend, and looking forward to that one. I think that this is a match that Chelsea should be looking to win. Brighton's a very good team. They're very well disciplined, even with Potter not on the side. But this is a game that we have to start building momentum on and finding our best football. We're not getting the breaks that we normally get in the season in terms of like recovery time and whatnot. But with that said, we just have to keep rotating the squad and take it to them, because they're going to be waiting for this game. They want to show Potter that he made a mistake, and at the same time Potter wants to show that the reason why he left is because he's come to a better squad. So we got to show him that, and we got to take this game. But until then, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high, and up the Chels. Peace.